Explosive! That's the best word I could use to describe the action of last week. Unless you were living in a cave, then you're fully aware of the absurd run in shipper stocks, most notably led by Dryships that goes from like $4 to somewhere close to $120 within 1 week. Now, it's been a long time since we've seen a real big low float run like that. Of course, not too long ago we had stuff like Sky People Fruit Juice and a few others, which made some pretty big runs. But I think it's really been since KBIO have we seen a stock move so absurdly. And every so often when these stocks come by, all of the comments and speculation and all of the predictions come from the social media crowd. And to be honest with you, it gets kind of annoying. So what we're going to talk about here is I'm going to say something that might not set well with a lot of people, but it's the truth. If you're one of these people who come into trading and you want to trade these low float cheap stocks, it is the absolute penny stocks and micro cap stocks and these cheap stocks are the absolute worst stocks for a new person to trade. If you decide that you want to trade these as a new person, you almost guarantee your execution into stock trading because there's only two types of people that trade these stocks. And I'll tell you why. You have those that know how to do it, which is a very slim margin of people. And then you have the majority, which are dreamers. Now, the people that know how to trade these stocks, most of them, unfortunately, sell you a service on how you trade these stocks. So in a lot of cases, they're creating the liquidity in this market. For you to get in and out of a stock, you need liquidity. Now, Dryships was different. Once it got going and rotated the float, that's a different story. But for a lot of these stocks, there is no market for them. The rooms or the service seller is actually creating it through the sheep, their subscribers, to sell the stock or to buy the stock to create the market so they can get in and out of their position. If you've never been stuck in one of those, it's an absolute terror to be in a stock that you can't get out of because there is no liquidity. Now, the people that do know how to trade them mainly like to short sell them because they know what the risks are, which is what we saw in Dryships. At any given moment, a stock like that can be halted. It happened both to KBIO and it happened to Dryships as well as a lot of the other shipper stocks this week. So they prefer to short sell them. Short selling these stocks is even worse because if you short sell a KBIO, if you short sell a Dryships, yes, you'll be right eventually. But everybody thought it was a short at 5, at 8, at 10. They just exploded their accounts by trying to short sell it. Now, even if you choose to short sell it and you use risk and all of that, trading these low float cheap stocks have one serious problem when it comes to short selling. And that is shares are very difficult to borrow. And if you do find shares to borrow, they're enormously expensive. Some of them have more than 100% to 200% borrow fee. And then the worst case is that it actually does grenade your account. It only takes one of those to explode your account. So it's very difficult for you to consistently find shares. Like Dryships, everybody knew it was coming down, but there might have been 5 people on the planet that could actually find shares for it. Now, because of the people that know how to do this game, they like to short, means they almost virtually never buy because buying these are dangerous. They're more dangerous than anything else because when you buy it, you run the risk of exactly what happened to Dryships. So the people that know how to buy it, they bought it at $4.50 and sold it at $5. They bought it at $5 and sold it at $6. They just scalped it. And if you're trading it, and I've seen the stuff on social media, people say, oh, I just made $300. I made $500 on Dryships. If you're trading a stock like that for $300 to $500, you are on crack. And I'll tell you why, because at any given moment, that stock could be halted, which again, that's what happened to Dryships. It could go bankrupt, it could be delisted. There's so many problems with a stock like that. And if you're just trying to trade it as a scalp, you are taking an enormous amount of risk to make $300 to $500. Trust me, there are a lot of other stocks out there that you can make $300 to $500 on without subjecting yourself to so much incredible risk. So remember that. Now, I know the lure. Now, the other group, of course, is the dreamers, and this is the lure that they fall into. You fall into this idea that you want to be that person that can buy a $4 stock and ride it all the way to 115. That's very rarely ever going to happen in your career. It just does not happen. And I also understand that it's a good selling point for new people with small accounts because they say to themselves, or it's sold to them as, oh, you can buy 1,000 shares of Dryships at 4 and sell it at 115 and make 100 grand. You can't buy 1,000 shares of Apple or Tesla. You can't do that. Well, it's all irrelevant because bigger stocks move more predictably and they also have big moves themselves. But you never really, there's always risk in trading, but you never really carry that massive amount of grenading blow up risk, which will be one of my final points. Maybe you're one of the few people that got lucky and you made some really, really good money. But for the majority of people, it only takes one of these types of stocks and your game is done. I'm going to pull up the charts here, probably pull them up as I was talking. But you look at Dryships. There were so many people, the dreamers, that were afraid they were going to miss out on this rally or afraid this thing's going to keep on going. And they bought it pre-market at 100, 110, 115, maybe even towards 120. And then it gets halted. When it opens back up, it opens under $60. If you had just 100 shares, just a little tiny 100 share position on that stock, you lost a minimum of $6 grand. 60 if you had 1,000, just like that. And that's the true danger. Because here's what it is, and I'm talking to you straight. If you come into trading, you want to make money. But in order for you to make money, the secret is not that bullshit, penny stock, pump and dump garbage. As I said, I'm not criticizing strategies. There's very few people that can make that work. You get rich by longevity. You need to stay in the business. I'm hoping that's what you want. I hope you're just not going to roll out of bed. You bought a bunch of Dryships and sold it. And now you're done trading for the rest of your life. If you're intending on making this a career, you need longevity. You will always be judged on the body of work. You won't have just one trade like Dryships will define you. Point is, you will have to grind it out, nose to the grindstone every day, take what the market gives you, and fight it out. That's how you make money. That other stuff that's being sold to you, this little student comes off the street and buys Dryships and makes 10 million. Nope. And even if it did exist, they're going to lose it all because they don't know how to trade stocks. You don't know how to trade stocks. You haven't learned longevity. So I'm telling you, if you choose to make trading a career, which may not set well with people because they hate to hear the truth about trading. If you want to make it a career, that's the only way it works. If you want to stay into 10, 15 years, you cannot survive. At least most people will never figure out how to survive on penny stocks and microcap stocks, no matter how big the lure is, because what it really brings out in you and people is the worst emotion that trading gives us, which is greed. Greed creates gambling. Fear of missing out creates gambling scenarios, and this is not a gambling scenario. And the more greedy you are, the more you will lose money and you will blow up. And it takes one KBIO, one VLTC, one Digley, one Lake, one Gene, one Dryships, one DCIX, and it's bye-bye to you and your account and everything you worked for, and you can't have that. So, got off there a little bit on a rant, didn't I? Anyway, hope you learned something with that. Speaking of blowing up, we do have whiskey. This is happy hour after all. I've been very critical of mixed drinks. I'm straight whiskey, love scotch, occasional bourbon. But there is a mixed drink that I do like. And thinking about blowing up, I just had this, somehow this pops in my mind other than that, was the good old B52 Shot. Now, I actually like B52s. When I first turned 21 and that was like 95 years ago, the first drink I could ever buy, I go to a bar, my friend and I are there, we want to order our first drink. We talk to the bartender, we say, what's a drink to buy? I need a drink. He suggests a B52 Shot. And I just loved it. And every time when I was younger, I would always go into a bar. I'd always order a B52 Shot. So it's been I think it's been well over a decade or so since I've even had one. So we're going to make a B52 Shot. We're getting a little fancy here. So what is it? It is Kahlua liquor, some Bailey's Irish Cream, and some Grand Marnier. I hope I'm not losing my man card here and wussifying myself. I promise next week I'll go straight hardcore liquor to redeem myself for this mixed drink. It's also a pretty drink. Since we're around the holidays, you might want to make one that's pretty. Now, it's a simple drink to make because you just have equal parts of three. I like to put a little more Kahlua in mine because I like the taste of Kahlua. And you can make a lot of Kahluas like Dirty Mothers, White Russians, stuff like that. All kinds of drinks are made with Kahlua. You can put it in coffee. But I'll try to show this up there. You do like equal parts each. I'm going to put just a little more Kahlua in it right there. You can see it. Next comes the Irish cream. Now, all the cool people in the world suggest that, because you want to layer this drink to make it look pretty too. And if you pour this in there too fast, it doesn't settle well. So you kind of use just a regular spoon, put it right there, and then you start to pour this. I'm just doing my best here. And you pour yourself a little Irish cream in there. Now the cream should lay on the top of the drink. Let's put a little more cream in there. I like cream too. There we go. This is what we have so far. See how it has a nice little layer to it? I didn't leave much room for the Grand Marnier. So my ratio is a little off, which is just one of the few things that are off. So let's put a little of this Grand Marnier in here. Same way. Just pour it on the spoon. That's enough right there. Looks good to me. There we go. That's a cute drink. Look at that. That's kind of a big glass for a shooter. And a little imbalanced, but not too bad. Another cool thing, which I'm not going to do now, if you put any kind of high potency alcohol, like a rum 151 or grain alcohol, if you put a little bit of that on top, you can actually fire it and a big flame will come out, but we're not going to do that. So that's it. I mean, that's pretty much it. I like it. It's Kahlua, a little bit of Irish cream, and Grand Marnier. You're supposed to do, like I said, just even patches of each one, like a third. But I think I got it a little off there, so let's go ahead and let's try to shoot this thing. That's a lot for sure. Okay. Woo! All right, it's not really that strong. Woo! Pretty good. I think I needed more Grand Marnier, but anyway. Happy hour is going to get good now. It's going to make me sweat. All right. B52, great holiday drink. It's a pretty smooth shooter. It doesn't have that really hardcore burn, so it's nice and smooth. Kahlua makes it like that. So anyway, there's your lesson on B52. There's your lesson on penny stocks and microcap stocks. So let's talk about stocks right now, what we got set up for this week. I have to start out by saying I really believe that the SPY is going to be going to all-time highs. I'm surprised it didn't do it this week. It's just set up after this election. We've talked about this before. I'm not going to go on and on. It's just another lesson in the long lesson that traders will have to learn is that you listen to the media, you listen to other people, you're just going to mess up. You know, it was supposed to be doom and gloom on a Republican victory. It turns out the market goes right back. I mentioned it in last week's video. It didn't matter who got elected. It's always going to be the same in the end. Market looks like it's just doing a little post-Brexit, going to fly right back up there and nestle its into the highs. What does that mean? Of course, longing is probably going to be better. We're going to see some melt-up markets. And some of the shorting is going to be probably a little bit more difficult. Now, for a few stocks, I think we're going to get some good vertical moves on Monday as we try to make that all-time high. One I like is Wix. You've seen a lot of charts like this have made some really big moves. This is actually a really bullish chart. I mean, look at it, February 15 to 51. I mean, this has had a hell of a year for a stock. But maybe after this last earnings and this market coming in there, you've seen here a nice flag bouncing off the 10-20 moving average on the daily chart. If we can get some vert, see, I got to have vert moves in the morning. If I don't get some good vertical emotional moves in the morning, I'm not interested in shorting. I just don't short something because it's up a lot. I have to have a specific move encompassed with that for me to short, and that's a vert. So if we get a good speed up vertical move, 53s to 54s, I'd be interested in shorting some wicks. Now on the buy side, the biotechs have been really strong, which was understandable. They didn't pull back as much this week as I thought they would. So rare here, if we continue to see strength in this sector, this rare has a really high and tight flag holding the 82-72 areas. And I like this. This looks like a long. I'm not much of a longer, not because I can't stand longing. Well, I can't stand longing, but you know, if you make that work, voice, if you make a strategy work, good for you. But it just doesn't. I'm just not into that. But that's okay. This looks like a flag breakout. You get this breakout above these wicks on top of the daily, 83.69, an 83.69 move could be a pretty powerful move. There's not a lot of resistance up inside of that chart. You could see a good 90 to a 100 run. Speaking of 90 to 100s, I think this NVIDIA has somehow found a way to cure all of the world's problems. NVIDIA, I mean, this thing has just been monstrous of a move. It was just like wicks, you know, going from February from 30 to 71 and then breaking out. This is what we're talking about when we say penny stocks. I mean, do you have consistent great moves? You can make bank on NVIDIA. It doesn't matter if you have a small account. Does not matter if you only have a couple of grand to start with. You just share size proportionately. It will be safer. It will be better in the long run. You will thank me for it. And this is one of those cases. I mean, it's a big move. Maybe I think we see 100 here. This is a very, very strong stock. Probably still a buy on the dips for, you know, potential 100 run. And then how about the little NUAN? This thing, I was short if this goes to 18. You get a nice big vert here coming out of earnings. It was pretty strong. I don't really like under $20 stocks, but this one I'd be interested in if it got towards 20 for a short sell. So yeah, just kind of look. I think we're going to see all-time highs. I like wicks, rare, NUAN, and NVIDIA, but again, it's trading, so anything can happen at any time, and that's just the way it is. You got to adapt. So I want to thank you for watching this video, and in closing, I really want you to take to heart what I'm saying. There are very few people that can survive long-term with penny stocks. And as I said, it brings out the worst in us. It brings out that greed emotion. And it sounds like a contradiction to not be greedy and want riches and wealth in the market. But that's not the direction that you take. You might be able to make it work, and congrats to you if you can. But there are very, very, very few people. And as I said, they're basically pumping and selling the service to help them make those trades work. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a market on it. Again, I don't want to criticize strategies. If you found a way to make penny stocks work, and penny stocks work for you, then fine. But out of 16 years of experience trading these markets, if you're to ask me, what is the least path of resistance for a trader? That would just be regular equities, $30 to $50 stocks, great volumes, coming out of earnings, good fundamentals, great volume. All of that kind of stuff is what makes you successful. And unfortunately, because I have a service, so it kind of contradicts what I'm doing for a living, but trading is a journey. If you want to be successful, I hate to tell it, you got to grind it out. You just got to get up every day and grind. When you look at all the greats in life, and we use sporting as an analogy, you don't make it to the Hall of Fame because you threw one touchdown pass. You make it to the Hall of Fame because you have a body of work. You threw a lot of touchdown passes to a lot of different receivers in a lot of big games. You won Super Bowls. You have all this long list of achievements. And a trader is no different than that. You have a long list of achievements. You will never get rich, most likely, off of one stock. I'm sure it's happened to somebody. You can probably point out somebody. But for the most part, you will have a series of thousands upon thousands of great decisions that will make you rich. And I'm assuming that's why you're in the business, is to be rich. And rich, it's about longevity. You need longevity. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that will sell you on the get-rich-quick scheme. Look at me in my private jet. Look at me in my $1 million sports car. Look at me living this luxurious, awesome life. If they're selling you that way, it's wrong. It's wrong. Because that's not what you're trying to do. You want to have money, but you don't have to go out and spend your money like that. That's just foolish, right? Anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic a little bit. Just remember that. You want to be successful, it takes a lot of work, and that's a hard way to do it. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Make yourself a B52. It's not a bad shot. I'm kind of, still sticking with me here after the last few minutes. Kahlua, Irish Cream, Grand Marnier. Have yourself a holiday drink. Thanks for watching this video. Till next week, talk to you then.